If you guys are ready to learn how to wallpaper like the Refresh Guys wallpaper, well, then this is the wallpapering video for you. Stay tuned, learn a little something.
Okay, stop. Our logo's coming now. Okay, you're back in.
Okay, when you're starting out, you're going to be tempted to start with your first piece right in the corner of the wall, but you can run into problems that way. So what we recommend you do is measure the width of the paper, take a few inches off of that, and start your first level line a little closer into that corner so that you can overlap your first piece, which will save you if that corner isn't perfectly straight. And once it's hung, you're going to go back into that corner and cut the piece to perfectly conform to the corner. That way there's no gaps, and that way you know the pieces from that piece on are going to be perfectly plumb, and you're not going to run into problems down the line. Now the next tip is to follow the instructions on your paper. Sometimes it's pre-pasted, sometimes they want you to put the adhesive on the paper itself, but in this case, they called for paste to wall.
Sometimes they even ask you to soak it in water.
They do.
And leave it in the water.
It's true. This isn't one of those times. So you may be thinking at this point, okay, well they just said to start in the corner. Why are they starting in this little nook here? The reason we did that is so that we didn't have, why did we do that again?
I don't remember, but we didn't want to run out of paper and we wanted to.
You know what it was? We were trying to conserve paper. We realized by doing it this way and creating a small cutoff in that upper bulkhead section, we didn't have to waste a whole sheet of paper that way.
Yeah, and we just had a small little seam as opposed to several seams.
Right. So that's just really smart. So things like that you won't know until you wallpapered a few times, but this is a good way. We try to minimize long seams and tiny sliver pieces. So by doing this, we didn't waste the bottom section of that entire strip. So at this point, we should probably point out that it's not a great idea to hang your paper in one direction and then go back in the other direction. But in this instance, because it was just this tiny bulkhead section, we knew it wasn't going to be a problem. It was in the corner. Anyways, ideally, you hang it in one direction and you keep going in that direction. And now that we've done our first piece, we know that everything's going to be straight. So from there, you just repeat the process, just making sure to match your repeat on every piece. And here we're cutting out the outlet. So this can be tricky as well, and you want to be really, really careful. We recommend most of the time that you kill the fuse if you're going to be cutting the outlets in situ like we are here. So from that point, just smooth your piece down to the outlet and then poke the four corners and play connect the dots. After that, you're trimming the top and the bottom as you do on every single piece. We recommend using a thicker guide on the top because a slight overhang actually looks better than seeing some of the wall where it meets the ceiling. So if you're gonna leave some extra paper, do it at the ceiling, and then at the bottom, cut it nice and tight with a thinner guide. So we use this plastic, what is this thing, a trowel? Plastic guide, a plastic smoother on the top. And then as you can see here, we switched to a standard taping knife as our guide on the bottom, on the baseboard, because this you're gonna look down at all the time and you're gonna be able to see if that paper overlaps.
Does it have to be a rusty knife like that, old and rusty, or?
It helps. It certainly helps. So the older and the rustier the knife, the better. No, I'm just, we're playing with you. Keep it clean, folks. Let's not use rusty knives on paper. We're trained professionals, so it's not gonna matter for us, but clean knives leave clean paper, okay? Moving on. Again, the name of the game in wallpapering is just getting those repeats to match up. So once you have your pieces in place, smooth it from the center outwards so that you're not sliding the paper up or down. And each time you do it, you're gonna get a little bit better, a little bit faster.
And
but
take your time with it.
Just take your time. It is there's definitely a moment when wallpapering when we call it when the fear of God strikes, when as soon as you start your first piece, you feel like this clock starts ticking and everything's gonna be ruined if you don't finish it really quickly, but it always works out. Take your time, try to relax, try not to panic. Here's a good little bonus tip for you as well if you really wanna get in good with the clients. We like to paper over the wall plates on the switches and plugs. So an easy way to do this is just to mark out where that pattern is on a separate piece and then mark where the switch plate is. From there, you're just gonna cut it out, make sure you snip the middle, fold it back. We use tape to keep that paper pinned while we're adhering it to the back of the plate. But once it's pinned back there, the screws will lock it in place. And if you wanna really be slick about it, you would use screwless plates. But in this case, we just went with what we had. Screws are kinda cool anyways. Vertical, horizontal, what do you think?
It's not up to me.
It's not up to Dan, not up to anyone. But that's an added bonus. You don't have to do that, but it's a cool way to add a little spice to your wallpaper job. But at this point, you're pretty much done, or at least you should be. So step back, give it a good wipe down. Make sure you get any adhesive off the walls because that will stain the walls. Just give it a good wipe down with a clean sponge. And that's really all there is to it. There's a few key things that you'll learn. Number one would be keeping a really sharp knife and going through lots of blades. Don't try to save blades when you're doing wallpaper. Another good wallpapering tip is don't bother doing your hair that day because you will definitely end up with goop in it. The paper is gonna flop all over your head.
You better stop talking, the buzzsaw is coming.
Oh, okay.
Any minute now.
That's wallpapering 101. The end.
Is that the right light?